and welcome again to Mark on Track. I did say I was going to review a new locomotive, and it was going to be a schools class, though I'm a little late on the delivery. And I'd just like to thank everyone who viewed my last one on Wainwright's C class. Viewing has gone up to 810, and I've had 16 or so likes, and up to nearly 94 subscribers, so thank you very much. So let's get on with today's product. Here we have with us today part of the National Railway Museum collection of Cheltenham, the schools class, a Maunsell locomotive, which was seen on the Southern Railway throughout the late 1920s and early 1930s, right up until the end of steam for this locomotive in the early 1960s. So let's go into a bit of history about it. It comes, as you'd expect with any National Railway Museum locomotive, it comes with a nice box with the logo here, and on the back you have a photograph of this locomotive, which I think was taken at the 1975 Cavalcade, which showed all existing locomotives at the time that had been preserved. And you have a nice description of the locomotive and its class on the back. So let's have a read of it. It says here, Southern Railway 440 Cheltenham, schools class locomotive. The schools class 440 locomotives were originally classified as Class V. A total of 40 of these locomotives were produced at Eastleigh Works between 1930 and 1935, which were all named after English public schools and schools class, become a common and recognised classification. As Cheltenham has a public school in Cheltenham, and I believe there's also one of Dover, St Paul's, Eton. Famously, there's a famous photograph that shows Eton, I've yet to find it, with all the Eton boys in their top hats around the locomotive when it was first produced for them. I think that's number 900, because they all went up with 9 class number specification. Let's see, Cheltenham himself was completed in 1934, withdrawn in 1962. It was chosen for preservation partly because the Railway Correspondence and Travel Society were based at Cheltenham, and partly because it retained its original single blast pipe Maunsell chimney, this one here, because later models were adapted and modified. After withdrawal, Cheltenham was stored at Fratton Shed until 1964 and Stratford until 1968, and at Preston Park until 1970, at which time it passed to the Standard Gauge Steam Trust until January 1973, when it was moved to Dinton Railway Centre, finally arriving at the National Railway Museum on the 31st of October 1977. Now restored, 925 is on display wearing its Southern Railway green livery. Well, of course, now it is actually at the Midhants Railway, or the Watercress line, in its exact livery, and it's a very nice locomotive to see in action, especially when I took my video of the Spring Gala, where you had this, Lord Nelson and Sir Lamiel, the King Arthur class. So you've got a real collection of Maunsells there for one day. I got this because this is out of print, or, well, it's not out, you can still probably get it on eBay for a very, very large sum. I got this at the West Somerset Railway last year at Bishops Lydeard. I was just browsing through their shop, which is a really nice shop to go in if you get there, and I just saw this and I thought, what was the price? Not steep, but not cheap, so I thought, well, I might as well get it. So I've got a fair few schools classes now. So let's have a look at it. Alright, let's open it up. So first, we slide this nice sleeve off. Put it over there. As you can see, I've removed the white sleeve so you can actually see the locomotive, which you can do on most of Hornby's products. But of course, Hornby are still doing that classic and very much hated foam box. And there she is. Right, take off this side, window. I'll just pop off the top. There we are. Now you're going to notice there's something slightly wrong with this. These nameplates do tend to come off, and they are not etched, they are sort of transfers. And the annoying thing about this was trying to glue it back on, but I'm going to see about getting some Fox's transfers or Fox's etched nameplates. As you can see, it's in a really nice livery condition. So let's pop her out of the box. So here's the locomotive drive. There we go. And the tender. Take away the box. As you can see, we've got a really super detailed model of this schools class. Now, unlike the old models, which were tender driven, these are locomotive driven, and they've done an excellent amount of work of detail on the class. But the problem is there's this nameplate here, but that can be sorted out with an etched nameplate you can buy very easily. As you can see, my personal favourite, metal sprung buffers. That's something Bachmann should do, metal sprung buffers, because if you get plastic sprung, well, I'll go into that. We could just turn it round and we'll see if we could get a good shot of the interior of the cab. We'll just see how that looks. As you can see, there's a lot of detail here, although trying to fit a crew in one of these is a little bit tricky if you've got some of Bachmann's. Finally they brought it out, but now they're all out to sell, is painted crewmen, and you can just fit the fireman here or back here, and the driver can hold the regulator here, which I believe this is left-hand drive, I think, for Southern locomotives, if I'm wrong. That's left, yeah, it's left-hand drive regulator here. There's a lot of detail here where the tender would couple up, and of course you've got this wire connection. Now these things I do not like because they are very thin, they can be very tricky to put on, and they have a habit of hanging really low on layouts, so they can actually be picked up by pins. So be very careful with these. And you also have this drawbar, which again is very thin, and you can close the gap, but when it goes around corners, very tight corners, it tends to bend it badly and causes a nasty scratch. So I'd be very careful using this. And here we have the tender. A little bit of dust here. As you can see on the tender, we've got a nice sunshine yellow of Southern here, and also you have removable coal. So you've got a nice space there to put in some coal, and enough to go on this little pan here. So you could create a nice realistic amount of coal with real coal. And I've got some real coal from Cheltenham himself to go in here. And again, spring buffers, NEM couplings at the back. A lot of nice detail. And let's see, how would you put this together? Right, so here's the locomotive in one of these very nice Pico service cradles. Definitely get one of these if you want to maintain or adapt or clean or repair your locomotive. And this is good for where you're going to need to attach this cable to the tender. So as you can see, it's nice and snug in here. So let's bring along the tender. Now here's the tricky part. You have to put this plug in here. First, you just need to get this little drawbar here. And then we'll just slide, tricky, and just gently get this plug into place. Now you really should make an easier way of doing this, or have them permanently joined like Bachmann do. It's the same for their T9 class as well, so let's just see, is that right? Yep, in we go, and there we are, all connected up. Turn around gently, and there you are. On the schools class, all hooked up. Removable coal over there. My summing up of this locomotive. I got it almost a year ago. It's been a very good runner at here, the club layout, which is the test tracks behind me. And it's also been a good runner on my rolling road. I won't be able to use my rolling road today because it's at home. My score I'd give this locomotive, a few things they can improve on, such as the wire underneath here, and perhaps the nameplates, but they did do quite a variant of these. There is the railroad version, which I think is, of course, very crude, but it doesn't have this hook problem. It's connected permanently with a drawbar, a thick solid metal drawbar, and it's in an earlier livery, because they came in a few liveries Hornby have done. This is a sort of, if my memory serves me, is the late 1930s, possibly post-war livery, just before nationalisation, where you have this sunshine lettering. The other early liveries, Maunsell's dark olive green, which has the sort of different font of Southern, and it has the tiny E for Eastleigh sheds, which would be just above the Southern, and it would be E for Eastleigh, B for Brighton, and A for Ashford. so you don't have to hunt around a book to know that. All in all, and another thing I like is removable coal, because Hornby seem to think now, since a lot of older people are getting into the hobby as well as young, they want to modify steam locomotives by putting in real coal, and there's a nice space here to put in real coal, so I recommend you give it a shot. And of course detailing is really good. There aren't too many other problems with this locomotive, only that they are very pricey, they're not cheap. And I believe Hornby are bringing out a new one called Epsom, which is famously going to have a white cab roof, and Brighton, which is in BR black. They're both going to be in BR black with this really nice pristine white roof, and they're not going to be cheap, and no, I'm not going to buy one. But yes, I think Hornby have done a good job with this, and I can't wait to see what Daple's N-gauge version of a schools class will be. I've pre-ordered Tonbridge, which, according to Dapple Dave, when's it out, Dave? Don't know, so we'll be on the waiting game for that. But it's a very nice locomotive. It's one of my favourites, if in a top 10 of steam locomotives of Britain. It is a shame that in real life there are only 3 left. You have Cheltenham, you have Stowe, which is at the Bluebell Railway, and the North Yorkshire Moors have Repton. And Repton spent most of its life in America. There's even some disturbing pictures of it with cow catchers. But we won't go into that. But it's good that we have 3 left rather than 1 or none. But it is a shame out of entire 40, only 3. But there you go, you can't have it all. So, let us know what you think about my second review. As you know, no green screen, but we shall proceed with more reviews in the future. So thanks for watching. Well then, there you are. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Though it could be a long while before the next one, so probably around about late May will be my next Loco review. I'm not sure what it will be yet, but we'll soon find out. Also, if you want to learn more about schools classes, then I recommend this book for you. This is Locomotives in Detail, and this one is on the schools class. This is by Peter Swift. He's also done one for the King Arthur class and the Lord Nelson class. He's also done a lot of Stania Moguls and Uri Moguls and so forth. This book you can get at Ian Allen, because it's an Ian Allen published book, and it goes through all the detail of the schools class. So you get nice photographs, both in colour, black and white. It talks a lot about the engineer himself, Richard Maunsell, and you get to see where they started off. As I can see, this is Eton here. So yes, I recommend this book. Gives you a lot of tips, hints, and history of the class. So thanks for watching.